and I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all presented over here for the AICT Training and Learning Academy's 1 week faculty development program on sustainable change management in Technical Institute for National Education Policy 2020 implementation. I, Rani Borkar, on the behalf of Department Engineering College Bilaspur, welcome you all in the fifth day's first session. Yesterday's session were informative and insightful. Renowned personalities from academia and industry have shared their valuable thoughts. First session, we have with us Dr. He was professor at IITR Bhopal and has nearly 31 years of experience as professional educator manager. He has done Bachelor of Engineering in Mining from Ravi Shankar University, Raipur, which is now NIT Raipur, in 1981. He has done Masters in Technical Education from Barkatullah University. He has in Occupational Stress Management from University of Florida. He successfully established new management information system for annual calendar preparation, dissemination, monitoring and marketing of NITTR Bhopal. He was educational consultant in installing 5 new technical institutes in Northeast states under World Bank Assistance Project. He successfully implemented various components of WBAP, TechEd, and TechEd 2 as project team. He has coordinated British Council project for self-learning module development for NIT faculties. He developed a system for offering programs through distance mode, successfully implemented the system in Gujarat state for a Directorate of Technical Education. He has conducted about 350 programs on a wide variety of areas related to capacity building and efficiency improvement in technical education, management development, and human resource development. He has managed polytechnic system as HOD and principal and designed and implemented innovative teaching learning practice resulting in quality outputs. He has guided 7 researchers in MTech dissertations as part of curriculum requirement of master program from Barkatullah University, Bhopal. Dr. Verma has published 16 research papers, national and international journals on different aspects of professional development. Developed 6 contemporary competency-based training packages in different disciplines consisting of trainer's textbook, trainee guide, trainee workbook, along with multimedia software to be used by professional trainers of the industry. He is continuously conducting research work in life skills initiatives for professional development and stress profiling of professionals in industries. He will be discussing on implementing OBE with respect to national education policy. I welcome him and invite him for his address. Please, sir.
Am I visible there?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Indrani, for a wonderful and a very long introduction. I was not expecting such a long introduction, but rather I would request the organizer to keep the bio on the introduction sheet itself, so that somebody wants, he can go through and then look at the bio, because after 40 years of work in the industry and field and education institute, and it looks to me as worthless somebody saying blah 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 blah. Anyway, so my very good friend Chawla Sahab, it's indeed a great course you have organized. Singhal Sahab, Sanjay ji is contacting me for a very long time, and he has been planning it in such a great depth that it is really a versatile program for all of you. And I feel in the current scenario, it is important to understand the national education policy as well as how it is to be implemented, because there is a what you can say, there is a um, great shift, but it is not it's a small shift, it's not a small change, because the topic chosen for this moment, the change management, it is definitely a a gallop from the what existed and what we are going to do. So my presentation, I'm because a lot has been talked about the NEP 2020. I'm not going to talk more on that aspect, but I'll be talking on certain practical aspects of implementing NEP through outcome-based education. Then what is the responsibility of educator? What is the responsibility of the system? What is the responsibility of the whole nation when we start implementing national education policy? So the topic I chose here is implementing National Education Policy 2020 through outcome-based education. The here the uh, if you have gone through the NEP, definitely you would have understood. The NEP is a shift, is a great shift in the direction of self-sustainable society or a lifelong learning society, a society that learns on their own. Uh, so the premise, if you start reading the NEP, the very first paragraph, it is a global education development agenda uh, that has been for sustainable development, 2030 goal 4, that is known as SDG 4, or that emphasizes ensure inclusive and equitable quality education. Now, every word is important. As an educator, मुझे ये समझना है कि inclusive education क्या होती है, equitable quality education क्या होती है, और लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज कैसे क्रिएट की जाती हैं. अगर ये तीन शब्द हमारी समझ में आ जाते हैं, देन डेफिनेटली आई विल बी इम्प्लीमेंटिंग द एनईपी इन इट्स ट्रू पर्सपेक्टिव. क्योंकि एनईपी को इम्प्लीमेंट करना ऐसा नहीं है कि एनईपी आया है तो बहुत साइजेबल शिफ्ट हो गया है. हम 1986 की आप एजुकेशन पॉलिसी उठा के देखें, वहाँ पर भी बहुत सारी बातें ये थी, लेकिन हम एक करिकुलम जो हमारा सिलेबस होता है, हम सिलेबस से बहुत ज़्यादा बाहर निकल नहीं पाए. उसकी वजह बहुत अलग अलग हैं, बीच बीच में हम इसके बारे में बात करते चलेंगे, लेकिन द इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट.
Sorry for interrupting, sir.
जी.
Sir, can you please make it in English? I'm not able to follow the language. I'm extremely sorry for that.
Sure. I thought the teachers are mixed, so I chose to speak both Hindi and English. Okay.
Yes,
So,
we are mixed, but thank you.
Right. So, ensuring inclusive education, equitable quality education, and promote lifelong learning opportunity, that are the keys that have been emphasized by the NEP. So these are the things which we have to keep in mind as a educator, as a system developer for the technical education system. The emphasis of NEP 2020, if you look at it, it talks about few things which are most important for us to understand. They talk about less content. Less content, what does it mean? Less content, whatever you are providing, it is not. Right now, what we are providing, it is content-rich material. It is content-rich teaching we are providing. It means we have a syllabus, we have a curriculum, and then we have subjects, then courses or subjects. Then we have much of content that has been input in the form of classes, input classes, in the form of experiments, in the form of projects, in form of other activity, academic activity. Lot of content is there. So, excuse me, is there somebody?
I
Vivek,
request
please,
participants to please keep the mic
Please,
muted.
please keep the mic muted. So it will be easy for me because otherwise it disrupts. Okay, no problem. So how to now when you say less content and more towards learning, when we talk of learning, learning is a global term. Learning does not simply mean it is learning in the class. It is learning in the class, learning outside the class, and as well as learning whatever you are doing. It is mean learning to learn, develop habit of learning to learn about. Now, these are the things important. Now we have to keep these things in mind while we design our curriculum, while we design our strategies to take our class, or while we design our evaluation or assessment tool. Now, how to think critically and solve problems. This is one of the attribute. If you have implemented national policy of outcome-based education in accreditation system, and then if you have developed POCO and looked at the graduate attribute, you find all these words existing there. So how to think critically and solve problem, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, how to innovate, adopt, and absorb new material in novel and changing field. Now, this is a challenge with all of us as an educator, as a education system to implement NEP 2020. How to think critically and solve problem cannot be taught straightforward. While designing learning experiences, we have to definitely analyze our content, where I have to put the exercises where a student or the group of student or a student as a whole will think critically and solve problems. So it is whether it is a one problem or a lot many problem, it depends upon the analytical tool or the tool for assessment of learning that will decide it. I'll discuss further about it in our next slides. So you have to keep in mind, if you want, you can just keep scribbling around, and because at the later stage we'll be talking about the objective, learning objective, how to develop learning objective related to thinking critically and solve problem, how to develop learning objective related to be creative or interdisciplinary, or innovative, adaptive, or absorbing new material in the challenging fields. Okay, we'll be talking more on that. Another emphasis of the NEP 2020 is pedagogy. Pedagogy is learning of adults. When we are talking about the pedagogy, make education more experiential. You have to have number of learning experiences provided during the process of learning. It must be holistic. It must not be segmented, fragmented, or elemental. That is what we call it inclusive, integrated, inquiry driven. There should be always a question all around while we learning. It should be discovery oriented, learner centered, discussion based, flexible, and of course enjoyable. So these are the points which you have as a teacher have to keep in mind while you design your teaching learning strategy, or when you design your assessment for learning. Whatever we were doing till now, it is assessment of learning. Whatever we have taught, we will have under the term examination. We will assess whether the student had passed or not passed, and that is how we give marks out of 100. But now it is holistic, integrated, and query driven. Naturally, you have to teach it that way so that the student learning is reflected in earning of the credit. I'll just go back a little, and I would like to talk about the journey of teaching learning in past 6 decades, from coming from content-driven teacher-centered to learning-centered activities. Earlier, there used to be a syllabus. A syllabus was developed by experienced educators who thought what is important for civil engineering, so divided the content into different parts and then developed the syllabus, what is important for study in the classroom situation. Till a few years, maybe 2014, if I talk about it specifically, 2014 we signed Washington Accord, and Washington Accord was made mandatory. We made mandatory accreditation as one of the mandated situation or condition. When accreditation is a mandated condition, implementing outcome-based education was one of the essential condition of Washington Accord. I'll not go into the details of the Washington Accord. You may Google it, you may look for it, but you have to be sure about what Washington Accord is and why it is signed, how it has impacted the technical education in a great way. So 2014 onward, when we started from competency-based curriculum to outcome-based curriculum, there is a large shift. There is a dramatic shift from syllabus to traditional curriculum to competency-based curriculum to outcome-based education. Teacher-centered activity, where the teacher has to continuously keep things on platform, getting things ready, maybe through some presentations, maybe through some tests, maybe through some testimonials, maybe through some modules, and he used to provide those. It was competency based or outcome oriented. Now, when it suddenly it became outcome based curriculum, it means whatever you learn has to be visible, and it is not on the end of the term examination that decides the learning, what you can say, it is the learning profile of the student. It is the important condition where what you can say it is beyond the end of the term examination. So now we'll discuss more on this because it is a very typical story, a typical journey which we have undertaken from 1960s to 2021 when we are talking of NEP 2020. So some of the fundamental, I will not go into the details of the fundamental principles of which we have already discussed, like flexibility or multidisciplinary. I'll not go into the details of it. One thing which now we have to think of the shift. This cartoon shows the shift. One teacher says to another, I have taught my parrot to whistle. So another fellow asks, but I have never heard it whistling. Are you sure? He said, I have taught it. I never said it learnt whistling. Now, this is a dramatic shift from the syllabus or curriculum oriented learning to outcome based education. If he has learnt whistling, it must be visible. So if I'm teaching and learning is not occurring, that NEP questions, okay, you have to have inclusive experiential learning, research oriented learning where students learn. Another cartoon that asks the same question, and it is about the curriculum implementation. Right now, whatever examination, whatever assessment technique we are using, what we are doing, we are using the same tool for all these students. You have like in this cartoon, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Okay, this is how we do it. Now, the NEP talks differently. You have to have n number of assessment technique which could assess the learning of each student, and then you have to mark each student accordingly. So there are two paradigm shift where how the content is to be delivered and then how the assessment has to be carried out. This has to be taken care of. So when we talk about the implementation of NEP, I'll just talk some logic model where you have inputs, activities, output, and then a feedback model. So here the total scenario is that we are shifting from curriculum based education to outcome based education, where you have to disintegrate your curriculum into different parts of learning moments, learning modules, and accordingly design the strategies, and then further go for implementing the system. Input, if you look in your own system, you have human resources like teachers, your staffers are there, different laboratories are there, workshop, library, all these are inputs in our system. Different processes which are occurring as of now, which need to be changed according to the learning outcome we expect. The lecture, practicals, visit, workshop, assignment, test, whatever. So all these need to be changed. An outcome is pass out, failures. So now the output may be incremental. There cannot be pass or fail directly. A student can take one credit of one module, one credit of one module, and keep on collecting the credit as he goes further and creates a portfolio. And that is how he acquire a degree. There cannot be one go pass or one go fail for all of them. So these are the paradigm shift which we are looking at. Now we have to think in terms of how it will be implemented. The first change that has to be implemented is the design of curriculum. How the curriculum has to be designed for the new scenario. For that, the 4 steps given here are setting objectives, learning experiences and content, organizing learning experiences, and evaluation. These are the 4 steps which we have to adopt for developing changes in the system so that a student become learning oriented and the total system implement the NEP, because you cannot implement NEP in bit by bit. You have to implement it in one go, full-fledged. So you have to make a drastic change. And when we think of a drastic change, it is right from, this is one of the workshop, I think it is one of the very first step where you are developing awareness of the system. So when you go further, when you go back to your own system or institutions, you have to think in terms of all these 4 stages. How you are going to, what is the educational purpose of the institution? Unlike in accreditation system, when you are implementing outcome-based curriculum, you have to have your aim, vision, mission, PEOs and COs and all those things are there. They are in line with the outcome-based curriculum. For even UGC has implemented for higher education system, they have implemented the outcome-based curriculum. And the total focus, the purpose of that is enhancing employability graduate to curriculum reform on a learning outcome-based curriculum framework, improving or upgrading academic resources, and all these things are there. I'm not going into the details of it because everything is there. But at one point of time, the whole system has to sit together and look in nutshell, what kind of learning resources do we have and what kind of learning resources do we need to add to develop a learning environment. Because a learning environment can be seen, can be observed, can be measured, and then only we can evaluate whether this learning environment is adequate or not. If there are certain lacuna on the part of provision, we have to make those provisions in advance. Then the quality of teaching and research, action research has to be part of the teaching learning process. What is the difference between formal research and action research. Formal research, it is an academic process where we go in the process of submitting our PhD dissertation or MTech dissertation or BTech dissertation, and then it is evaluated. But when we call of action learning is a day-to-day questioning and inquiry about what is to be done. For example, if I'm teaching chemistry, I'm teaching about the detergents. So one of the action research question can be, if I ask my student, do you know the clothes you are wearing does have minuscules of detergent left in it, which is a major source of skin disease. So how you will do it? So a chemistry boy should go dip the cloth in a pure water or a water and then try to analyze the water quality and then find out, okay, yes, chemical is there or not. So depending upon the situation, you have to have some kind of questions which orient the student, which orient the teacher for inquiry driven learning. For that, as a teacher, I have to work very hard. I have to find out questions. I have to find out answers as well before I ask the question in the class. So these are the things which we need to prepare ourselves before going further. The most important point which NEP is asking and which probably AICT and UGC has also avoided, the degree will be awarded on the basis of demonstrated achievement of outcomes. Now, it is beyond the end of the term examination. You cannot simply pass or fail a student giving him marks that, oh, now, okay, now you are 75%. No, it is a demonstrated achievement of outcomes expressed in terms of knowledge, understanding, skills, attitude, and values. Here comes the graduate attributes, the 14 graduate attributes given by the AICTE that have to be considered while designing the program educational objective of the institution. So now you have understood that this is a paradigm shift from content-based learning to outcome-based education, because here the student has to demonstrate, a teacher or the system has to evaluate the learning outcome, which is expressed in terms maybe knowledge, maybe understanding, or maybe some kind of demonstration of skills, attitude, or values. And then we have to set the academic standards. Okay, these are the parameters of knowledge, skill, attitude which the student has to demonstrate during the process. And that demonstration is being measured by the teachers who are conducting their classes. Okay. So moving further, the purpose of education, I was just going through one of the very interesting how the things will come from a book to the environment. Now it is providing variety of learning experiences for active, purposeful, and useful engagement in life. Now we have to connect our education with life. Now this is a bottom line statement. You can jot it down and you can remember it whenever you are designing your own learning experiences. You can, my learning outcome should include active, purposeful, and useful engagement of the learner in life. If these three things are involved while designing my teaching learning strategy and assessment for learning, then it will be very easy for you to implement the NEP in toto. Traditional learner or and the contemporary curriculum जो है, the things are their learners are passive, they are exam driven. Rote learning is very prominent. The examination day comes and I'll read, I'll study for the whole night and I'll appear in the examination, and next day I'll forget what I have studied and what I have learned. Now those days are gone. So all these things are the contemporary in traditional learning situations. So now the question is, if I really want to actively engage the learners, what should I need to do? So the OBE curriculum framework, we have to understand how we have to develop our curriculum. There are three major stages for development of curriculum. Number one, we have to have interaction with the industry, the educational professors, organizational, all those who are connected closely with the education system, who are the beneficiaries of the education system. And we have to get a feel what kind of attributes they are looking for, what kind of competencies they are looking for, what kind of uh, capabilities they are looking for. So those attributes, competencies, capabilities, whatever we call, they need to be converted into the learning outcomes. So this you might have done during the process of developing your outcome-based curriculum, that you have an institution and develop mission, vision. When you come to program level, you have PEO, program educational objective, you have a student learning outcomes and course learning outcomes, and then implementation comes, course planning and deliveries, how the curriculum will be implemented, what will be the methods, what will be learning activities and assessment tool, and then assessment, institutional level assessment, program level assessment, and course level assessment. So these are the three major parts which now the system has to look for implementing the outcome based education for implementation of NEP. Now, when we talk to the industry, or when we, if I ask you to create a profile of the learner, what he has achieved in last 4 years or 5 years of graduation, you will say he has communication skill or problem solving skill, value ethics, all these skills. So some or more of them will be part of the total profile or total portfolio which is required. When we ask the industry, or when we ask the experts or ask the professional, what kind of proficiency you are looking in a mechanical engineer, of course we are not making him specialist minded. We are not making him a specialist. We are making him a generic engineer who has a good idea of the subject, as well as having all these skills in him, so that he can perform for his own sustainable development. So learning outcome map, if I say this is the kind of map that a mechanical engineer should have, all these colored dot, they look, say, communication skill this much, problem solving skill this much, value and ethics this much. So here, so if these are the kind things we are looking for, then, oh sorry, let me go back. So empathy, team working is good. Now you have to derive. Now let me tell you, as a teacher, as a head of the department, as a principal of the institution, or as vice chancellor of the system, you have to have access to the kind of profile which is being created by the education of a particular subject or course or degree. The mechanical, for example, I'm just the job and environmental analysis shows me these are the kind of skills profile which somebody has to have. Now I want to make a curriculum out of it. Now I can divide it in different courses, you can say, different courses. And then if I say I have course 1, so course 1, I want to have some kind of writing skill, and then some kind of assertive skill, and then some kind of other skill like that. I make this profile. So course 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the skill profile which I want to develop to. So then I have courses, sub courses, or subjects, you can say, different subjects in course 1, and that is how we design the subject. This is purely a theoretical model, but when we actually go into it, I'll talk a little later about it. Similarly, for course 2, you choose certain skills which need to be developed, and then you do the, what we are doing is competency mapping. Identify relevant competencies attribute required for the purposeful engagement. Now, once we identify the competencies, you have to do the content analysis. What are the topics, knowledge which we have to provide? What are the experiential learning which I have to provide? What are the research oriented learning I have to provide? And all those content need to be developed, and we form the program educational objective for that particular program. Once we know the program educational objective of a mechanical engineering program, 4-year degree program, then we have to develop program objectives and course objective for that. Accordingly, we develop teaching learning strategies, assessment plan, and this cycle goes on and on till we finally get a curriculum in hand, where I know what subjects are to be taught, how it is to be taught, how it is to be evaluated, and then how a credit can be awarded, or how the learning can take place for awarding the credit. Going further, the program educational objective, I'm just giving a general example. If you are developing some, you're analyzing your curriculum or developing your curriculum, then these are some examples which you can use for your program educational objective. Like, graduate will be able to apply graduate principles to develop products, process, or knowledge to solve social and associated life-related problem for successful careers in the chosen discipline, higher education or research. This is a very broad objective, but it is essential to mention in your program. I'm talking about a program. There is a difference between program, courses, sub-courses, topics, or subtopics, which we are talking about, these subjects as of now. The program educational objective 2 can be: graduate will acquire leadership and qualities with a strong communication skill along with professional and ethical, like that. So likewise, choosing the appropriate competency or attribute or capabilities which a student need to develop, we will have to have our own program educational objective. When we design program educational objective and we go for program outcomes, just see the example of program outcome for a mechanical engineering program. There are 10 program outcomes here. A sound working knowledge of fundamental principles that underpin the mechanical engineering. Sound working knowledge, it is not defined here out what sound working knowledge. When we talk of sound working knowledge, it means the knowledge provided must be implementable in the given situation and be connected to the life. Then specialized knowledge and skills in chosen area. Ability to apply knowledge using a realistic, practical, and systematic approach to problem solving and design. Now, when we write this program outcome, it means we have to have our inputs based on it and our assessment technique based on that. There must be a realistic problem, a practical problem where a student can solve that problem. So this require the connect of the teacher, the connect of the system with the environment around. Then ability to think both creatively and analytically, lifelong learning with the capacity to learn both independently and as a part of group through a variety of different methods. Now, this requires, when we talk of lifelong learning, it means you have to learn independently, individually, as well as you have to learn in a group. It means how the teamwork is there, ethics of the teamwork, and the what you can say self-motivation to learn things. So all those values we talked about in earlier when we were looking up looking the attributes, we have to think in those terms how the lifelong learning can occur. Self-discipline, self-management skills, and the ability to set personal goals. This is a program outcome. Now, when we say it is a program outcome, when the student has to demonstrate the same, and it will be added to the credit. When you award the credit, this will be added to the credit. He has a situation where he demonstrated self-discipline. Now you have to design an activity or design certain activities where he can demonstrate all these. So now you have to be condition yourself from this point of view that your learner is demonstrating everything. It is not the teacher who is teaching everything. It is the learner who is demonstrating and is being evaluated and assessed off and on. Okay. Now going further, one of the important thing, this NEP also focuses on environmentally conscious and sustainable development conscious society. So while designing our curriculum, one of the program outcome, if you have gone through the outcome-based curriculum designed by different institutions, you will see one of the important outcome is environment consciousness and the sustainable development issue. That has to be part of the education system now. So now we have seen in nutshell the process of developing a curriculum for outcome-based curriculum. You see, you have to design it backward. It means you intended learning outcome, you will talk about it. Then you will intended learning outcome of the units, you will talk about it. Intended learning of the course, you will talk about it. Intended learning outcome, comprehending them, combining them, you will have academic program and the integrated learning outcome of the institution. But when you deliver it in the class, it is intended learning outcome of the lesson. You start with the lesson because you are taking your class and you will talking about the lesson. But although whatever we have talked about till now, whatever the competencies, whatever the attributes we are talked about, they have to be visible while your classes are being offered. So it is designed backward and delivered forward, and it has to be in a cycle where we keep on modifying the things. You have to remember the Bloom's taxonomy while we are talking about the developing the outcomes or developing the course objectives. So earlier, while we are implementing syllabus or curriculum, our focus was remembering, understanding, and to some extent applying. This was the limit of the earlier curriculum. Now it has gone beyond it. It is now analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So if you are going to go to this level, a student must be able to create something new. Then you have to have these objectives in your learning outcome: assemble, construct, create, design, develop, formulate, right? All these, there can be n number of objectives where you can go explore the Bloom taxonomy for this purpose, and you can find these all objectives must be the part of curriculum design. Some of the objectives I have written in general: elaborate the importance of complementary medicine therapy, demonstrate, plan and develop, prepare and implement, observe a process and identify errors, record evidences, develop tools, use tunes and melodies, encourage use of some. So these are the objectives which are themselves demonstrative. If you want to elaborate, you have to definitely understand the basic concept, examples related to it, then only you can elaborate. If you want to demonstrate certain thing, then you have to learn it through and through, and you have to step by step you have to demonstrate it, right or wrong. The credits are awarded on the right demonstration. So a learning ladder has to be built while we design all these learning experiences. Learning a ladder means you have to disintegrate the chunk of big learning into small learnings and then create those experiences where student can master. So mastery learning through inquiry driven or inquiry oriented teaching is one of the important part which we have to implement. So learning outcome at the course level, again with the same cycle, you have established course learning outcome. Then one thing you have to, this course learning outcome must always be aligned with the institutional outcomes. So you should always be careful while designing the course outcome. They should align with the institutional outcome. First you develop the institutional outcome, and then you develop the course outcome. Then provide learning opportunities. What are the different learning opportunities that can be there? You can have n number of learning experiences connected with one learning outcome. Then assessment is one of the most important thing you have to keep in mind while designing the whole curriculum, because until it is not pen and paper test, it is beyond that. You may be using sometime rubric, you may be using something, some experiential, you may be using some kind of demonstration or a pilot study or a prototype, anything. So you have to have certain kind of activities which really observe, measure, and then focus on the learning outcomes. Going further,
Sir, one participant, sorry, sir, to interrupt
please,
you.
please, sir.
One of our participant, Dr. KK Saxena, he wants to ask something, sir.
Sure.
And I request other participants also, if they have some
Yeah.
valid doubt,
It
they
will
can
be
interrupt
better.
it.
Otherwise, it will break my monotony also. Yeah.
Sir will
Please.
like to have. Saxena,
Yeah.
sir, please ask your question.
Sir, please.
नहीं मैंने कुछ नहीं पूछा सर.
Your hand was raised, so I thought you have asked something. Anyway.
नहीं आप सक्सेना साहब आप पूछ सकते हैं, बिल्कुल. You are
नहीं
most
सर, वो
welcome.
मिस्टेक से दब गया.
सर
कोई दिक्कत
सर
नहीं.
लेकिन
कभी कुछ
sir, but
गलतियां आती हैं.
I also have a doubt in between, sir.
Sure, yeah, please,
You
please,
said
sir.
you said it is beyond the examination kind of thing which we normally have.
Yeah.
So please clarify this beyond concept, sir, because we will have to somehow give marks or maybe something we have to see before awarding him the degree. So what is that thing, sir?
Right, sir. As I told in the beginning, there is a paradigm shift. Now, end of the term examination does not really mean that the student who have acquired 40 marks out of 100 is 40%. You have to judge the student, you have to evaluate the student off and on, that is formative learning. The whole emphasis on formation of the learning portfolio. When a student is learning in the class, when he is learning each bit, every bit has to be evaluated and then given grades, marks, or whatever it is. And later on, this is accumulated, and at the later stage, at the end of the term examination, you have only maybe 20 marks examination. Out of 20, you are giving him the marks. Rest of the 80 marks you have given throughout the process of study. So, end of the term examination is not the emphasis to pass or fail. So, this is the major shift which I am talking about. Am I clear, Dr. Saab?
Yes, sir. Now it is. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So
Continuous evaluation.
Yeah.
Continuous evaluation.
Exactly. It is formative evaluation, it is continuous evaluation, and it is evaluation of the attributes which we are developing through the courses, which we are developing through the lesson. If I have gone, suppose if I'm taking strength of material, I have 20 classes. If I am going for my class 1, I have to have very clearly known to student that what are the attributes they are going to acquire after this lesson. So if I complete lesson 1, then those learning outcomes, how they are evaluated, that is more important. So that evaluation of assessment of lesson 1 will demonstrate, yes, he has learned so much. I know that I can because we, as my experience goes, we have implemented the outcome-based curriculum in few universities, and we found that there was a great hesitation in adopting the outcome-based education because the teacher's role has increased manifold. He has to design many activities, he has to design rubrics, he has to design new assessment tools, and all those things are there. But once you make it, it will be a great asset for you. You have to keep on adding a small bit of it. So
Sir,
for
how the deployment will take place? Like
uh,
the students, how the deployment of this NEP will take place? Like the student who are in 10th standard right now, will they be benefited? Or the students who are in 12th standard right now for the professional education, will they be benefited? Because the students who are right now in nursery or in first or third, second standard, they will definitely get the benefit. But the students who are at higher standards, how they will get benefit about of this NEP?
Ma'am, uh, we cannot say that there can be one blow benefit out of the implementation of NEP. It is a long drawn process. The whole
So
system
how the
has to change.
implementation will take place?
I'm
How
coming to
the
that. I'm coming to that. It's a long drawn process. Right now, we are sitting on a very rigid curriculum framework, which we have the habit of implementing, that I have 20 classes to take to complete this syllabus. Now you have to cover the syllabus through 20 classes. This process of NEP is uncovering the current syllabus. Uncovering the syllabus means out of one syllabus, if I'm teaching, say, environment pollution, I have to connect it to the environment and then let the student understand the pollution. Now, this will definitely, as I told again and again, it is a paradigm shift from the teaching learning process as of now. We have to have very different kind of learning situations now. So that will take time. It is not one go that a student from 12th will benefit, or a student from 10th will benefit, or a student from nursery will benefit. It will be a long drawn process. And let me tell you, in the education policy of 1986, these things were there, but they were hidden. But still, the implementation took so long that we are not still able to implement. We have not come out of the end of the term examination phobia. So we have to come out of the end of the term examination phobia. We have to create a situation where student can learn. So I'm talking about it in more detail. Later on, you can have a question on that. Okay. So if you want to change student learning, then change the method of assessment. That is important. Here, the three things which we have to differentiate: assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and assessment of learning. These are the three different things. Till now, we were doing assessment of learning. Whatever is taught in the class, whatever has been delivered in the class is student is being ranked out of it and then given some marks on it. Now we are shifting from assessment of learning to assessment for learning, where the student will be assessed on the progress and the learning needs. Let me tell you, each student is different as far as learning style is concerned. So now the responsibility of making him learn rests with the teacher to create a learning situation for him. Somebody is a very slow learner, somebody is a very fast learner. In a class, I'll deliver my lecture, you take whatever you want. But now when I say it is assessment for learning, I have to give a different situation, different learning situation to each one of them. It's a very difficult task, and at this moment it looks like a Himalayan task. But it can be implemented if we start looking bit by bit through active engagement, focus of active engagement. The student is actively engaged, purposefully engaged for certain learning outcomes. And it is a continuous process, mind it. The assessment of learning reveals student level of understanding at the later end, whereas assessment for learning or assessment as learning, they are continuous process. It is to be integrated in the teaching learning process. So now you must have understood that if we want to form a product right, then we have to formatively evaluate it, and this is the crux of outcome-based education. So again, summarizing you have to, how you're going to implement. You have to analyze the curriculum. You have to find out the knowledge, skill, attitude, the attribute we talk about. You have to design learning outcomes. Then you have design COPOs, learning outcomes, session plan, and design teaching learning process, learning outcomes, and then have evaluation process, continuous evaluation and summative. So this is in nutshell, we talked about it. Now I invite you for more question, but few things what is your role in implementing NEP? Number one, understand the meaning of learning and learners as elaborated in NEP. This is one thing which must be very clearly imbibed in your mind as well as heart. Meaning of learning and learners as elaborated. Then understand the core premise of NEP for useful, purposeful, and active engagement of the learners. Third is core attributes and competencies developed by the course or the program which we are teaching. Next, develop learning outcome for each attribute or competency. There may be as many as 10, 15, or even more learning outcome for each attribute. Choose teaching technology that would be most suitable to develop those learning outcomes, and then develop assessment tool for assessing the real learning that has occurred. This is what you have to do for implementing NEP, because NEP cannot be implemented in one go, or कि नहीं हमने implement कर दिया and done. No, it cannot be implemented like that. It has to be part, and it is to be done individually. Okay, so that is all I wanted to share. Thank you so much. Now the questions.
Good morning, sir.
Ji.
Sir,
Thank you.
I'm Professor Narasimhan from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore.
Ji.
I'm an NBA evaluator also. Many times I found whenever we are doing a project
Ji.
and report, we found that the contents are more about the components and modules.
Other participant may please mute the mic because a lot of noise is coming. Yes, sir. Sir, please.
The report consisting of 90% of components and modules, whatever are readily available. But the testing and results are only few pages, maybe 1 or 2 pages.
You're right.
I feel the student should test and get more results. Whether it is failure or success, that is different. But
Right.
they have to test it and say in which environment they are going to work.
Right.
And even procurement and cost analysis is also very, very important.
Very right. Very right.
Because a company environment, anybody includes a project, they say what is the cost and what is the advantages.
Right.
Many times we don't find an NBA evaluation also, the report doesn't consisting of these things. No
Right.
cost analysis, no testing. Even testing is there 1 or 2 pages.
Sir, I do agree whatever you have said. As I'm emphasizing again and again, there is a paradigm shift. Now the student has to take responsibility of learning. Till now, the responsibility of learning rests with the teacher or the education system in which he has entered. Now we have to shift this responsibility to the student, how he learns, and he has to demonstrate, as I emphasized in the beginning itself, he has to demonstrate his learning, then only he will be given due credit for it. So I agree very much that in whatever environment he is going to work, he has to really show whether it is financial management or economics or it is sociology or psychology, because now the NEP says, okay, design your own curriculum and have whatever subject you wanted. It is not restricting the institutions to have a different curriculum. You can have a different curriculum. You can have economics, you can have music, you can have psychology, you can have financial management, and everything should be there as part of the credit which student will earn while he is learning in the classroom situation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank
you. Right. Any more question, please?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Please.
Sir, as we rightly identify, I think this has been identified for quite long that actually the assessment or the exams, they actually ruin the education. Because if we talk about this FDP itself, you know, for last 4 days we were going through the sessions and we were actually listening to the concepts, we were learning the concepts. But as today, second half, we are having an exam. Most of the participants are having some thoughts in back of their mind whether I will be able to clear that test or not. Though most of us are not paranoid about it, but somewhere there is a thought that whether I remember the expansion of that acronym or not, whether I remember that particular date or year or not, because that is how that assessment will take place. So I'm saying it's very easy to say that, you know, there should be a continuous evaluation, there should be a formative evaluation and all that. But if we talk about even this FDP, which is like, you know, for a very limited set of people and we are all teachers and all that, even there the assessment method is still the age old method. We are having that, you know, one MCQ at the end of it where there will be 40 questions or whatever number of questions. And if we don't, you know, answer a certain percentage, then we failed, irrespective of whether we actually have the knowledge of it or not.
Yes.
The real assessment for this should be after doing this training, whether I'm really able to apply this in my, you know, in my institute or in my area or not. Whether during the course, whether I was really able to understand, whether I was really able to participate or not. But it's very easy to say all these things, but when we come back, we really don't see the real demonstration of this. I mean, it is always being said that, you know, there should be continuous evaluation and all that, but I mean, I have doubt, like, you know, whether it really happens. And even in the best of the institutes, whether we call it IITs and NITs, still every institute follows the same pattern of age old assessment method. And even for this very FDP, which is through Atal, and which is for on NEP, which talks about the you know, outcome based education and everything, we are still having the same outcome method. And the fact is, if anyone doesn't clear that certificate, irrespective of whether he has learned or not, it will be like, you know, he will not be getting a benefit of it because he doesn't have a certificate of it. So I think there is a big contradiction. It's very easy to say, like, you know, there should be a formative.
Let me answer your question. You are very valid. You have a very right question. Sir, let me tell you, we have a great Constitution of India implemented, and we daily see the deviation. The same thing happens. We are all hard-headed persons, isn't it? I'm a teacher. I'm a hard-headed. So deviation. There is a here there is a great deviation. If you visit country like Germany, if you visit country like US, and if you visit country like UK, and you see the learning outcome, I don't say they have 100% implemented it. They are still implementing, and they are still finding it hard to implement. There are always plus and minuses. See, the situation here is to create a learning environment. Of course, there can be modalities where the situation may be different. Okay, you could have been assessed session by session. Some multiple choice questions must be there in the beginning, end of the each session, and then you will be assessed, and you know the progression of the your achievement. Then you would have not asked this question. But okay, this question is quite valid, and it will remain valid till we accept the outcome-based education by heart. I don't say it can be 100% implemented, and don't criticize the whole system for it. But yes, for a teacher, because this is a teacher-oriented situation, because if you really want to implement a outcome-based education, you can implement it. You and I'll most of you will agree with me that when you design your sessions, you have lot of examples which are connected to life. You have lot of activities which are connected to life. It is not that you are not implementing it. You are implementing to the best possible way. But only thing, the evaluation or assessment for learning was not there. It is only added now. I remember, I would like to tell one of my teacher, when I was studying in class 7th, I used to have a Hindi teacher, Professor Pandey was there, and he was so lucrative when he used to speak, and he was illustrating everything with a story. And even I was a student of higher English, I used to go and attend his classes. So it is the teaching that matters. It is not the assessment. Only thing, only a big change, a paradigm shift that has appear here is the learning assessment. It has, rather than end of the term, it has become comprehensive. It has become continuous. I really appreciate your concern, and I hope when you implement things in your own class, you will definitely make certain changes. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah, Single sir, if you any more question, or can we close the session?
So I just have one question.
Please.
It's a kind of doubt. I don't put it as a question though. So the other day, NEP is totally new for all of us. As you said, it's a long drawn process. To understand itself, it takes a lot of time, and you people have worked into it. I'm sure you'll be able to guide us on that. Sir, there was a speaker the other day who said that NEP should be taken based on, short, medium, and long-term process. As a short-term, medium, and long-term process. But today, I don't know if I heard you right or not. Today, you were telling like it cannot be rolled out on piecemeal. It has to be implemented at a go. That's what you said in the initial. When you started your presentation. I just want a clarification here.
Yeah. In fact, in one go, when I say it is when we design the program educational objective, the program educational objective need to be designed in connection with the program objectives of the institutions. And when we design program educational objective, the program outcome, the course outcome, and the learning outcome, they are all interrelated. So they have to go hand in hand. You cannot say, okay, it cannot say that we have program educational objective for the program. For the course outcome, we will develop it later.
Okay,
so they have to go hand in hand.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Sir, I also have one doubt, sir, which we have been facing throughout our NBA system.
Right, sir.
And I'm very thankful to NITTR Bhopal, sir. Because of you only, we started that thing, and we could achieve NBA in 4 branches, sir.
Great.
And
Great, sir.
you might be
Congratulations.
remembering that. You might be remembering that our vision mission started from intervention of your faculty only, sir.
Right. Great, sir.
So,
Great.
so we are really thankful,
Right,
sir.
sir.
This,
Thank you so much.
sir, there is a term, there is a in the criteria 7, there is a continuous improvement thing,
Right.
and
Right.
there they ask action taken. If you
Exactly.
not achieved, if you not
Right.
achieved your goals, then action
Right.
taken.
Right.
Whether these action takens are on the same batch or it is on the next batch.
Sir, it is 1-to-1. When I am giving assignment to one student and he is not able to complete it, I will give him some kind of modifying or things like that, so that he can show the changes in that, and then only it is recorded as action taken and the result on it.
So, but sir, normally we are able to calculate the program outcome only after the end of the program.
Right. Now, because see, sir, after going through the implementation of outcome-based education in different institutions, we have seen that when you implement it, the portfolio of the student has to be made continuously, so that we get the result of the class in one go, that how the students are achieving differently. So if we know
Yes.
that student number 1 is lagging behind, I have to give him some kind of exercises so that he can improve upon. So that has to be recorded continuously, so that end of the day I know what is the total profile of the class. So that is how it is to be implemented.
That's correct also, sir, because we cannot measure the fever of one person and give the medicine to the other person.
Right. So
But this measuring,
that is
but
why
this measuring of,
yes, sir.
yes, but this measuring of the fever takes time, sir, in the system. actually.
Exactly. That is why I put emphasis on assessment of learning. So it is not assessment of learning, it is assessment for learning. So learning experiences, and then likely outcome, and then achievement or deviation. It is recorded hand in hand. Then only we will achieve this kind of scenario where at the end of the day we know what is the kind of profile that is existing.
And sir, in the that PDF document of that SAR, which is
Right.
provided by NBA,
Right.
Possibly June 2015 or 19, something like that.
Right.
There itself in the criteria 7, they have given certain examples, sir. And
Yeah.
in those examples, it is written that this particular PO was not met because in the laboratory we did not have equipments. So next year we purchased it, or we purchased it for the this kind of example they have given. That makes the confusion.
Sir, actually, 2015 to till date, things have been changing a lot. And after implementation of NEP 2020, there is a I said paradigm shift in looking at the things. So we have to now relook and re-examine whatever we have done it, and then we have to redo things for the requirement as of now.
So definitely, sir, this continuous improvement has to be integrated with this NBA. Actually. Then only this criteria
Exactly.
7 will prove to be effective.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Actually, sir, I would like to tell the audience that 2014 we signed the Washington Accord and we accepted that we will implement outcome-based education. Till 2015, we didn't have any idea, even the very vague idea of what outcome-based education is. So we started implementing whatever we just started converting the existing curriculum into outcome-based curriculum and try to fill up the forms accordingly. But now at least we understand how the active engagement of the learner can be done in the classroom situation and how he can learn continuously. So the responsibility of learning has to be given to the student, not to the teachers. It is the student who has to learn and demonstrate that he has learned. So now we have understood it, and that now we have to create our assessment tool accordingly.
Yes. Any participants?
Sir, one more thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, NEP should concentrate on the curriculum division, because if you see, our houses previously was different. Today, the interior decoration inside the houses are different. But
Right.
civil engineering never focuses on how is your bathroom today, how is your bedroom today, and how is your kitchen today. They never say how to calculate the tiles, or the wood required, or the electrical appliances required, because all these are part of the curriculum. Whenever you go out, we'll know how the tiles are calculated, wood has to be calculated. Or only one college I was able to see the plumbing lab. They were telling how are the bathrooms, how are the fittings inside that. COEP, Maharashtra, Pune has a plumbing lab. We are fortunate to see the plumbing lab in COEP. But many colleges who deal with civil engineering never deal with such laboratories or the theories. Because outside the world is changing, whereas we cannot teach from the same textbook which has been written 30 years back.
So, sir, you are very right. There is a large difference in the education being imparted today and being expected in the NEP. So as I am telling you again and again, there is a paradigm shift in the imparting of education, and you must have experienced while implementing the teaching learning process in last 2 years, particularly in pandemic. The how the outcome based education can really come up well. It is the pinch with pinch everybody has experienced that imparting a outcome based education is not that easy, which is talked about. So we have to definitely look at it from a different perspective. We have to redesign our curriculum. We have to redesign our learning experiences, and most importantly, as you said, we have to connect ourselves with the working environment to understand the attributes, to understand the competencies which they are looking for. They are looking for a resilient person. They are looking for a critical thinker. They are looking for a problem solver. But are we really giving a person who is a problem solver or is a creative thinker? And if I say he is a problem solver, what is the documentary evidence do I have that he is a problem solver? So, any more question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, please.
Sir, for the last 3 days, 4 days, we have been discussing. Hello, is it
Yeah,
I'm
please.
being audible?
Yeah, audible.
Yes, sir. In the NP, we have discussed a lot about the degree courses and other. Sir, can you focus on the polytechnic? What will be the future of the polytechnic has been expected?
Yeah, there is not much difference between the degree and diploma institution. And to tell you the larger perspective of the NPE, we will be having credit-based modular courses now onward. Maybe in coming years, maybe 5, 10 years, you will not see one degree or one diploma. There may be modular credit-based courses which a student can take based on his own interest. He may take music, he may take economics, he may take psychology, he may take financial engineering, and whatever he likes. So that is the dream of the NEP which we are looking for. So we have to prepare from that point of view. So there is a shift from a end of the term examination to having a course as per my own requirement. So there are certain basic courses which we have to provide, like mathematics, like English, like science. But beyond that, whatever is provided, it is the thing, it is the knowledge which is connected to the world of work.
Okay,
so,
thank you, sir.
So, Dr. Singh, Dr. Chawla, let me thank from bottom of my heart from my institution, NITTR. I'm thankful to GEC. I'm connected with you since last 20-25 years, and we have been closely connected. And I really thank every audience for the concerted listening and it was a wonderful interaction with you. Have you have any question? And I'll request, it is my one of my requests is, please don't stop here. Have continuous series of implementation of outcome-based education so that you can really have it implemented at the place. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chawla Sahab. Thank you, Singhai Sahab. And all the audience. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a nice day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, our next lecture